Hello, fellow artists. We are going to talk about the dreaded hands. So I'm going to be giving you 3 focuses, but each focus is supposed to be for one exercise. And stick around until the end because I'm going to be sharing a few other recommendations to practice and to keep in mind. First one, simplification, meaning blocking it out. And this is one of those fundamental things to start your paintings, generally speaking. Usually we block things out when drawing or painting, and then sometimes when we have a very good understanding of things, we might just start in a more advanced direction. But it is always a good idea to begin by simplifying. So you can go about this process of blocking out in various different stages. You could start with a graphite sketch or with an underpainting sketch where you lay down the main geometric shapes, and then you can proceed to block out the shadows and the mid-tone values. So the dark values and the mid-tone values. So you could stop there if you just wanted to keep trying to improve this, or you could just start shaping it a little bit more and start adding certain intricacies, say the reflected light, the highlights, maybe a few transitional value tones or a few transitional colors if you wanted, so that you can get the practice if that's what you're looking for. But stopping at the midtones and potentially adding a blocking of where the highlights are is a good stopping point to just keep practicing the building blocks of a hand, considering you may already have some anatomy knowledge. Though if you don't and you do this exercise, then do go ahead and study anatomy of the hand. And then what you can do is redo all of these exercises because you're going to have to anyway if you want to improve. So what are the new things that you found out about the hands? So we try to break down what the hand is in geometric forms or very simplified forms. Try to understand the planes of the hands, the fingers, the palm, join together a few areas that do not need yet detail. It's just a way to experiment what approach you prefer. We can also consider when blocking things, where is the light hitting, or where would the light hit if we weren't using a reference. So you can start with a reference to shape the hand, but say you're not going to follow the lighting of the reference, say you want to create a new lighting, think about that shape. What are the fingers, like cylinders or, cubes, rectangles? The palm is also like a cube. So think about how the light is going to hit the combination of planes together overall. Second, brushwork. I tried to do this thing that we do in drawing, which is gesture drawing. I wanted to inspire some studies with that in mind, and I was not entirely sure how to approach it. What happened was that this whole, quote, gesture painting, unquote, was very flowy and loose brushwork. And it turned out very similar to my previous paintings, but with a bit more of intentional brush strokes. So some looked a little bit better, some looked a little bit worse. But generally speaking, I really liked joining of the fingers together and making some of my marks a bit more directional and intentional in that sense. Then we can experiment a bit with loose brushwork. We can test the tight, quote, brushwork. So we see the hand is very sudden with the dark and the light with the claw hand. You can tell very much the tension, and I think it worked really well with this hand pose because it's very clear, and it could be more artistic, let's say, like looser brushwork, and you can do that on top of it, or I could do that on top of it. But I really enjoyed having this very neat looking hand like this, because at least the form is very readable. The shapes and values are also very readable. So to me, this was a successful hand. And also, speaking of experimentation, you can also test different sizes of brushes. So one very big or bigger than you would usually use, one that is smaller than you would usually use, and see where it takes you. And I mean, use it from the very beginning and use it until the end. Did it frustrate you? Or did it make you sigh in relief? Like, oh, okay, this is what I needed. Or did it make you frustrated because you thought, I want to add details so badly? And I think that's a good thing. Now you know that it's a good starting point for that detail and for that narrowing down what each plane is like, what the colors, how the colors shift, and all that nuance that the hand has. And the third, contrasting versus ambient / overcast light studies. These were very useful in being able to figure out how to define and how to block out the hand. So it quite encompasses everything above and allows you to experiment how you want to join things, how you want to separate things. When it's very overcast, it's quite difficult to get that volume correct or that depth of the hand correct, which I was afraid of, and was relatively successful with some of them. At least the depth is readable and the palm is readable. Okay, so my last thoughts and recommendations. In terms of process, 1, you can sketch first to get in a rhythm, block things out, really break it down, or just make it gestural drawing, warm up, and then jump into the painting. Number 2, use your own hand as a reference instead of having pictures. And you'll find out it's quite a bit different. You'll realize that your hand keeps moving and shaking. And once you have that block, you can remove your hand. Well, not remove it, but you know what I mean. Because you blocked it out, you'll be able to continue to refine those shapes. Number 3, you can try sketching the hand with graphite first. So having this process of graphite first, then paint and undersketch, and then you can block it out with the paint, like start doing the shadows, midtones, etc. And then adding the detail, and by detail I mean like more highlights, reflected light, a few shifting tones or colors, etc. But if you are someone who already does this process, shake it up a bit, starting directly in a different point. So you can, instead of using the graphite, sketch it with the paint, see where it takes you, and compare which process you like better and what you can achieve with one that you cannot with the other. You know, this just helps you figure out a better process for yourself. Trying it out won't make you lose any kind of time. It's just going to maybe frustrate you because, you know, something doesn't work. And knowing what that is very valuable, at least in my opinion. Finally, we have brushwork, which I did mention in the video, is to test various sizes of brushes from start to finish and see where that takes you. And you can test out blending versus no blending. And hopefully this will help you a little bit with figuring out a better process or better style with hands. And these are things you can apply to any kind of study, because it is very foundational of painting and breaking down subjects into their geometric shapes or simple shapes. And in total, you'll be painting a lot of hands. And within those 3 focuses, as you saw, there's a lot more that involves. But you'll start seeing more little things that you can improve on, or that you will want to improve on, and narrow it down to how you can improve that. So you'll be able to do your own problem solving. That's all I have for you today. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this was useful. If it was, please give a like. It will let me know that it is. Subscribe if you haven't already. I really greatly appreciate it if you do, and leave a comment about process or questions. And thank you very much for sticking by until now, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye everyone. Happy painting.